Alright, so if you bought a 2024 300 XEW, you might have been pretty pumped about the fact that it comes with an LED headlight. And you might have thought, man, that's really going to light up the woods compared to the old bulb style. And you were probably disappointed when you got out on the trail at night and the light sucks. The problem with the stock light is that it is wired for low beam only. So it only throws light so high so that it's not blinding oncoming traffic, because this bike in Europe is sold as an EXC. So this headlight in here, this bulb, does have a high beam, and we're going to take this $7 switch from Amazon, wire it in here, put the switch up on the handlebar, and we'll get ourselves a high beam. So there's two 8mm bolts up here. We'll loosen those up, this headlight mask will come off, and then we'll continue to step 2. Okay, so once you get your 2 bolts out here, you essentially grab this headlight, just wiggle it and pull up on it. There's just 2 black tabs here that lock into the fender. Then we're going to get our speedo, or our front brake line, and speedo cable out of the way. So those come unattached there. And then we're just going to push on this plug. Alright, you really got to push on that sucker to get this light disconnected. But anyway, now we got our light out of the bike, and we're going to go to the bench and move on to the next step. Alright, we got our headlight out of the bike and on the bench. If you ever want to replace these, you essentially just twist it counterclockwise and the bulb comes out. Pretty simple setup. Actually, it just locks back in. Next step is to get this black loom off of here. So you can use a scissors. You just want to be very gentle that you don't cut any of the wiring. So I'm going to go and cut this all the way down with the scissors just to get the black loom off it, and then I'll be back. Got my battery out and did some testing and looking at wiring diagrams and everything. And I wanted to share this because I thought it was kind of important. The low beam are the LEDs on top of the light bulb. So that low beam, those LEDs shoot up towards the top of the light bulb, and if you look at the way the headlight is designed, it only allows the light to go so high, and it will not shine above that point of where the top of the headlight ends. So that's why when the low beam is on, the light only goes so high. It's designed that way. The high beam shoots out the bottom of the headlight bulb down like this, so that lights up the entire trail. It's going to throw a lot more light. Now, when these bikes, the way that these are wired, after looking at the wiring diagram on the street legal EXC bikes, when you turn on the high beam, which is the one down here, the low beam also stays on, and then on the center front of the bulb is the parking light, I guess I would call it. And that would be if one of your bulbs, well, not one of your bulbs, but your upper or lower LED high or low beam fail, you still have a separate circuit, separate wire for your little light here on the front that just makes enough light so that people know that you're there. So that is the parking light on the front. That is the white wire here. Brown is ground, yellow is low beam, and blue is high beam. So what we're going to do is we're just going to strip back a little bit of sheathing between on the yellow and the blue wire. Again, yellow is low beam, blue is high beam. We're going to take our cheap Amazon switch. We're going to solder our wires in, one to yellow, one to blue, tape it all back up, and that's all you got to do. Okay, so I got my razor blade knife out here. I'm just going to, what I usually do, and I don't suggest doing this because you can easily cut your finger, but I just go in here with my razor blade knife and just very gently take off some of this wire all the way around. You just want to be very careful because these are very thin wires. If you don't want to do that, go on Amazon and look up something called Positaps, P-O-S-I-T-A-P-S, and it is a way where you can just clamp that onto the wire. It'll put a pin in through the wire, and you don't have to do any cutting or taping or soldering or anything. I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna solder and tape these up. So I'm going to get my shielding off of here so we can get our wires connected, and then I'll be back for the next step. Okay, so we got our shielding stripped down just enough so that we can get our switch hooked up. I got the ends cut off of this switch and the shielding stripped back. It does not matter which one goes to blue and which one goes to yellow, but essentially you just twist these on here real nice, and then we'll solder them up. So this is just a through switch. So essentially what's happening is your power from your low beam, which is your yellow wire, is going into this switch, and then when you turn this on, it allows the power to come out of the switch into the high beam, which is the blue wire. We'll get this soldered up. Make sure you're using resin core solder. If you're using your dad's plumbing solder or something, it's not going to work for shit on electrical. It's got to be resin core solder. So we'll heat this up. Just want to get a little on there. Let it penetrate in real nice. That looks beautiful. Do another one. Stuff like this is not hard. I almost pulled the trigger on a really nice expensive headlight from Slavens. I was going to get the Baha'i Designs XL Sport. I think that's like a $300 headlight. And this is not going to be anywhere near a $300 headlight, but it's going to be way better than it was because the stock low beam on these things just sucks. So we got those soldered up. We'll let them cool. We'll tape this all up. Okay, so I did make one small mistake, but it doesn't really matter. It's not even a mistake. It's just a misinformation. So yellow is your running light wire. White is your low beam wire. And blue is your high beam wire. Now, white and yellow are actually connected together farther up in the loom, so that the running light and the low beam are on all the time. So you can do it exactly this way. Run your switch to the yellow and the blue. I just wanted to clarify the information because I said that the yellow was the low beam, and that is not correct. It doesn't matter. Hook your switch up, one to the blue, one to the yellow, and it'll work. Now another thing, if you do not want to use a switch and you just want this high beam on all the time with your low beam, just solder these two wires together, the blue and the yellow without the switch, and your bike will have low beam and high beam all the time. It's an even cheaper way to do it if you don't want to buy the switch. Alright, so I got both the wires all taped up real good separately so they don't touch together, and then I got this all taped up real nice so that it looks like, you know, somebody gave a damn, and you want to make it look as nice as you can in case somebody ever comes to look at your bike. Make this as pretty as it can be. So we're going to put this headlight back on the bike and get this hooked up on the handlebar and go from there. Okay, hopefully the camera picks this up, but this is just for reference, this is the stock low beam, and it's only out about 15 feet, so it's kind of a bad example. But if I grab my switch that I have wired in now and flip it up to high beam, it not only lights up more in front of the bike, but look at how much higher that light beam shines. So, you know, you can see on the low beam that the beam just doesn't go any higher. It just kind of stops because all that light's coming out of the top of the LED bulb, and it's hitting that wall, and that's all the higher it'll go. But then when you flip on the low and the high, wow, what a difference. So that should be so much better. On the low beam, you can barely even see the ground. You turn the high beam on, it really lights it up. So hopefully this will be better. Thanks for watching.